The first time I asked my CEO to dinner, I was trying to protect my pride, not change my life. Everyone in the office assumed I had finally lost my mind. She was the brilliant woman who led a billion-dollar company with quiet confidence, while I was just another employee who blended into the background. I had already convinced myself she would politely refuse, and honestly, that was exactly what I wanted. But instead of saying no, she looked directly into my eyes, smiled in a way no one at work had ever seen before, and quietly said, "Okay, but only if it's a date." In that single moment, every carefully built wall around my heart collapsed, and I realized that sometimes the greatest surprises arrive disguised as impossible moments. Before we continue, if you believe kindness deserves another chance and that love can appear when people least expect it, please take a second to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who still believes in hope, and subscribe to Dad's Second Chance. Your support helps bring more emotional stories like this to life. I had spent most of my adult life believing I wasn't the kind of man remarkable women noticed. After losing my wife 3 years earlier to a sudden illness, life became a long routine of work, raising my 8-year-old daughter Lily, paying bills, and pretending everything was under control. Every morning I packed lunches before sunrise, braided Lily's hair with skills learned from endless online tutorials, and rushed to the office hoping nobody would notice how exhausted I looked. My co-workers admired my work ethic, but few understood the quiet battles I fought every single day. Grief had become part of my personality. Smiling felt unfamiliar, and dreaming about happiness seemed almost disrespectful to the memories I carried. When our company announced a new CEO, rumors spread through every hallway. People described her as brilliant, demanding, and impossible to impress. Her name was Victoria Hayes, and her reputation had reached the office weeks before she did. Everyone expected a cold executive focused only on profits. Instead, she surprised us by learning employees' names, remembering birthdays, and stopping to ask about people's families. She still expected excellence, but there was kindness behind every decision. That combination made everyone respect her even more. I tried to avoid standing out. My goal was simple: do my work well, leave on time for Lily, and keep my personal life private. But fate seemed determined to keep placing Victoria in my path. During meetings she often asked for my opinion, not because I spoke loudly but because I quietly solved problems others overlooked. She praised my ideas publicly while giving credit generously. It felt strange being noticed after years of trying to disappear. One rainy evening I stayed late finishing an urgent project while Lily waited in the small break room coloring pictures beside me. My babysitter had cancelled without warning, leaving me with no other option. I worried constantly that bringing my daughter into the office would make me appear unprofessional. As I hurried to finish the report, Victoria unexpectedly walked in. Instead of looking annoyed, she sat beside Lily and spent nearly 20 minutes helping her color a butterfly. The sight was almost impossible to believe. The CEO of the company was laughing with my daughter as though deadlines and board meetings no longer existed. That night Lily asked a question that caught me completely off guard. She wondered why the nice lady at work always looked lonely when she smiled. Children often notice things adults miss. I couldn't answer because I had quietly noticed the same thing myself. Victoria wore confidence like armor, but behind it there was a sadness she never spoke about. Over the following months our professional relationship slowly evolved into genuine friendship. She never crossed boundaries at work, and neither did I. We spoke mostly about projects, books, and occasionally parenting. I learned she had devoted nearly every year of her adult life to building her career. Success had given her respect, wealth, and influence, but it had quietly stolen time. She admitted during one conversation that she couldn't remember the last time someone invited her somewhere without wanting something in return. That sentence stayed with me for weeks. As Thanksgiving approached, Lily insisted we should invite someone who would otherwise spend the holiday alone. She remembered Victoria mentioning that her parents had passed away years earlier and that she usually spent holidays working. Lily looked at me with innocent certainty and simply said that no one should eat dinner alone. I laughed because the idea sounded ridiculous. Inviting my CEO to dinner seemed like something only people in romantic movies would dare. But Lily refused to let it go. She reminded me that being kind wasn't supposed to be convenient. The following Monday I found Victoria reviewing documents outside the conference room. Before my courage disappeared, I awkwardly invited her to Thanksgiving dinner at our small house. I rushed through the invitation, already expecting a polite excuse about business travel or prior commitments. Instead, she smiled warmly and quietly answered that she would come, but only if it was a date. For several seconds I genuinely forgot how to breathe. I almost apologized, convinced she must be joking. But her expression remained sincere. She explained that titles disappeared outside the office, and two adults sharing dinner because they enjoyed each other's company didn't need anyone else's permission. She admitted she had hoped I would ask long before I gathered the courage. The days leading up to dinner were filled with anxiety unlike anything I had experienced. I wasn't worried about cooking or cleaning the house. I worried she would realize how ordinary my life really was. My furniture was old. My neighborhood wasn't impressive. I drove a car that had survived better years. Compared to her world, mine felt painfully small. When Victoria arrived, carrying homemade dessert instead of expensive gifts, every insecurity I had disappeared. She complimented our tiny home, laughed with Lily while helping prepare dinner, and treated the evening like it was the most important appointment on her calendar. There were no business conversations, no discussions about quarterly earnings, and no mention of status. It was simply three people sharing stories, laughter, and memories around a table filled with simple food. As the evening ended, Victoria quietly admitted something that changed everything. She confessed that watching me care for Lily had reminded her that success meant very little without people to share it with. She had spent years climbing every professional mountain, only to discover the view was lonely. She envied the love inside our modest home more than any luxury money could buy. Life after that dinner wasn't magically perfect. Dating someone who happened to be my CEO brought challenges neither of us expected. Office gossip spread quickly. Some employees questioned my promotions, even though I hadn't received any special treatment. Others assumed our relationship began long before it actually did. The pressure became overwhelming. Rather than ignore the situation, Victoria made one of the hardest decisions of her career. She stepped away from directly supervising my department and asked the board to assign independent oversight to eliminate any conflict of interest. She refused to allow our personal happiness to damage the integrity of the company she loved. Watching her sacrifice convenience to protect fairness only deepened my respect for her. Months later, after policies were adjusted and everything became transparent, our relationship slowly became accepted. People who had doubted us eventually realized our story wasn't about power or position. It was about two lonely people who had spent years convincing themselves they didn't deserve another chance at happiness. Lily became the bridge between our two worlds. She taught Victoria how to bake cookies without burning them, while Victoria encouraged Lily to dream fearlessly about becoming an architect one day. Our home slowly filled with laughter that had been missing for years. Even the silence felt different now. It no longer carried loneliness. It carried peace. One evening I stood outside watching the sunset while Victoria and Lily planted flowers in the backyard. I realized grief had not disappeared. I would always love the woman I had lost. But loving someone new did not erase the past. It honored it by proving that the human heart is capable of surviving unimaginable pain and still choosing hope again. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Dad's Second Chance. Your support encourages more stories that remind people love and kindness are never wasted. Special request * comment below with the words, "Everyone deserves a second chance." We'd love to read your thoughts and hear your own story of hope. Years later, people often asked how a quiet widowed father ended up marrying the CEO everyone admired. They expected some unbelievable secret or dramatic twist. The truth was beautifully simple. It all began with one invitation that was never supposed to be accepted. Sometimes courage isn't about believing you'll succeed. Sometimes courage is asking anyway, even when rejection feels certain. Because every once in a while, life smiles back and changes everything with a single unexpected answer. And when that happens, you discover that second chances rarely arrive when you're looking for them. They arrive the moment you decide your heart is finally brave enough to open its door again.